Welcome back to our part 2 of our series to discuss the changes that Upwork has announced on their new variable fee schedule starting May 1st, 2025. In this episode, I interview Morgan Overholt. Morgan is the author of 10-Day Upwork Jumpstart Guide, a great book that you should absolutely order from her site at freelancerfiles.com. She has a lot of insights to share, including some very practical tips at the end of this interview that you're going to want to act on right now. Let's hear what Morgan has to say. So to bring in another perspective, I've asked Morgan Overholt to join us. Morgan, as you know, has been very active in the Upwork ecosystem. And in fact, Morgan, you've written a book about Upwork. Can you show everybody what it is?
Yeah, it's my 10-day Upwork Jumpstart Guide. So there's a little workbook in here, and as well as a proposal journal, so you can kind of like keep track of the proposals that you send there in the back. But it has like real life examples of exactly how I win jobs in the platform. It even gives you a sneak peek into my portfolio and like how I write proposals and how I attach stuff to those proposals, et cetera, et cetera. So that's available on freelancerfiles.com. And actually, because everybody listening today knows we're going to discuss some new changes at Upwork, namely the fee change. My books have become slightly outdated, and I've got 10 hard copies pre-printed. So I'm going to let these next 10 pre-printed copies before I update this book go to discount.
I love
use
it.
Use Pouncer30 at checkout at freelancerfiles.com. Again, that's Pouncer30.
Pouncer
and you'll
30,
get 30% off.
30.
And the only thing that'll be outdated, I think, is the invite not requiring connects anymore and the 15% fee, because back in the, right now is 10%, and this will be outdated next month. So Pouncer30, if you want one of the pre-printed hard copies, it'll be slightly outdated in 2 weeks.
Well, both you and Adam have written books about Upwork, so you're putting the pressure on, okay? So
and I will update this, by the way. I'm going to update this by May 1st, so everybody will have the new stuff after it's done. Upwork, quit making so many changes.
I appreciate it. It's great to see you again. I know how incredibly busy you are. And, the topic that we're going across and what I asked Adam about was about this new variable fee structure. Okay. And as I said in the previous video, I said, good news, Upwork is going to be charging 0%. Or 15%. We don't know which. So what were your thoughts about this new change? Because it's going into effect May 1st of 2025. What is your kind of thinking and reaction about it?
I mean, honestly, here's the thing, right? I am going to remain probably for a very long time. I'm not going to say forever anymore, right? But I'm going to say for a very long time, somebody that says Upwork is still a viable way to make money, it's still a really viable way to get referrals, et cetera, et cetera. No, I do not get paid to do that. No, I'm not afraid of the company. It's all right. That is just me saying it because it is still the truth. But it is getting a lot harder to kind of get yourself out there. And I think personally a lot harder to make money on the platform, and a lot more frustrating, even for somebody like me who has made a ton of money on the platform. Like I've made $700,000 and growing. But if you've been following me over the years, you'll notice those numbers have been growing a lot more slowly lately, because I am relying a lot more or a lot less on the Upwork platform and a lot more on the referrals that the Upwork platform brings me. And I can get into a little bit more about that a little bit later. But honestly, this just kind of felt like something, another one of those like, hey, this is a great way to sneak in some more profits for us here at Upwork without really properly justifying it. Another one of those sliding scale things. We're not really saying what we're using to determine certain things are going to be this percentage and certain things be 15%. It felt a lot like the Connect system, which I'm also not a fan of. Honestly, and I feel like I've said this on so many podcasts and probably this podcast too, I really want them to just put all this stuff in like the Freelancer Plus thing and just charge a fee and just be done with it, because it's becoming so unpredictable. Like I can't just look at a spreadsheet and say, okay, this is my Upwork cost every month. I don't know anymore. I don't know. I don't know how to predict it. I barely know how to budget for it. And it's just becoming way too complicated. I mean, explaining this stuff, this is why we have to write books about it, honestly, because it is so complicated on Upwork. And I wish they just simplified the entire process. That's my hot take.
Yeah. I think that's the same thing that Adam indicated as well, is that, we just want some certainty. And I think if they had said, no, it's going to be 15% ongoing, then that would be more certain, right? Okay, they've gone up, but we know what to budget for, and everyone's going to raise their price up an additional 5 to 10% and cover for it. And then everything is cool. But now, because this is what bothered me, and I said this with Adam, what is the 0% job? Like, does anyone really believe there's going to be 0% taken out? The other thing, and just to reinforce it, is the fact that you're going to have, according to what they say, it's going to be based on supply and demand. Okay. Well, if you get a one-to-one relationship, meaning a client reaches out to you directly and hires you directly, well, technically, that's a one-to-one. That is parity. What is the fee for that? Is it zero? Because there's no demand for it because they reached out to you. So this is, I think, something that's going to, in the short term, drive a lot of us crazy. Though I have a feeling it's going to start to inch its way up, and then finally they're just going to make the break and say, "No, it's 15%, guys. Welcome to the new pricing." That's how
Yeah,
I think it will transpire.
I honestly think as we continue to go on, I mean, right now, the only way you can really get a 0% on your contracts is if you're in Freelancer Plus and you have direct contracts.
Right.
So if you're paying for that subscription, there is a way to get those 0% fees still. But I think those are going to be the only ways that we actually see it. So you're still paying Upwork in one way or the other.
Yeah.
I don't expect anything in the marketplace to be 0%. I'll tell you that much right now. And I think the vast majority, kind of like what we saw happen with Connects, or they're like, oh yeah, it could be anywhere between like 2 and 20 or whatever it is now, right?
Right.
I think most of them are going to be 20 and not 2. So I
That's
think
right.
we're going to see mostly 15. And honestly,
Well,
that's one of the things that's one of the conversations I plan on having with my clients under the assumption it will be 15.
yeah. And I think that's something to plan for right now. What are some other things that you're recommending your audience and freelancers be thinking about, since, we're right now at this taping, less than a month away from the variable price changes, I should say. I would say price increasing, though it is an increase, the variable price introduction. What are you recommending to people to be thinking about right now? How can they prepare for it? How can they plan?
I mean, in a way, it's a really great sales opportunity, right? Like if you have right now a client that maybe you want to move on to an hourly contract or something like that, you can literally say, hey, look, let's go ahead and move on to an hourly contract right now before the prices increase, because I'm about to raise my rates on May 1st. That way neither one of us pay more money. That could be a really great way to get that conversion. Or even if you have
Nice.
currently a client that's on the fence, you can use that exact same thing and throw
Oh, that's a
Upwork under the
good
bus.
one.
Like, yeah, I'd be like, man, those bastards, they're charging us all these fees. You need to lock yourself in before I raise my rates, because my rates will be raised on May 1st. And
That's a great
everybody should.
advice.
And everybody should be doing that. You should be raising them at least 15%, if not taking this opportunity to go ahead and raise them 20. That's what I'm going to do starting on May 1st.
Yeah.
And again, from the way I read it, you will be grandfathered in if you're locked in at an older rate. So you don't have to worry about that. But again, it's why you want to go ahead and get some of those extra contracts on file and lock them in at the 10%, because 5% over time on a big contract is a chunk of change.
Yeah,
So
that's a
land your
great, I
clients,
love that.
lock them in, use it as a sales tool, and raise your rates on May 1st.
And that also, I would think, would mean that April should be busy for you. You should be reaching out to more people to lock them in for a longer term. And I love the idea of the hourly side. So, in our world, we never will do hourly because, we want fixed, or, we have a milestone based approach. But I think whether you're charging hourly or going milestone based approach, the key is secure those relationships right now. And what I really liked about what you said is that it is a sales tool right now that you can literally come in and get your clients who are on the fence to say, you need to secure my services now, because starting May 1st, my pricing is going to have to rise. Love that.
Yeah.
What else should people be doing?
Yeah. And that is a good point. Yeah, you pay the same fees as, whatever. It's going to go up on the 15% on the milestone stuff too. But again, if you're already under contract, but definitely just use it as a sales tool to get them to go ahead and sign on to whatever that long-term
Right.
ongoing thing is. And maybe even convince them that that's a reason why they should have a long-term ongoing contract with you. So it's also could be a really great way to secure some more long-term clients, which you all know is always the name of the game. And everyone's always asking me how to do. It's basically saying, hey, look, let's go ahead and just have a contract together in perpetuity. That way we are locked in to this 10% rate, no matter what Upwork does. So I think that, again, it could just be a really, really great sales tool. I mean, I think those are the biggies, right? Don't get too deterred by Upwork, guys, but also just really lean into, because they're going to keep up with these shenanigans, right? Really lean into the real power of a platform like Upwork, or honestly, like Fiverr or anything else. Use it to build your referrals out. And that's really what I've done over the years. And there's nothing that's against the terms of service to do this whatsoever. For instance, today, about, I would say roughly 70-ish% of my current clientele didn't even come directly from Upwork. They came from Upwork referrals. In fact, my third or fourth ever client on Upwork back in like 2018 actually ended up being a government subcontractor who I did such a great job for. We had such a great relationship. They ended up referring me to two of their sister companies offsite. So they reached out directly, then the other companies did. And then those two
Hmm.
companies referred me to like 4 or 5 other companies. I mean, I've probably done over the years 20 different companies from that one Upwork contract, and only one of them ever went through Upwork. And that is the power of a platform like Upwork or Fiverr, or honestly, any of these freelance marketplaces. So consider that. Think about it as the power that what it offers, which is making those connections to you that can turn into these giant referral systems and blossom like a beautiful big tree in your network and make you so much money over time, and less about depending on it every single day. Because I
Yeah.
do think it's getting a little bit complicated at this point. So
Yeah.
get your careers jump started and ready to go, and get that solid base, and make a few really solid connections, which is always the hardest part, and then kind of let your career blossom from there. Because yeah, honestly, and Upwork, if you're listening, quit with this funny business. Like, just give us some flat fees. It's driving
Yeah.
me crazy. Like, I would rather y'all just say, okay, look, it's like $100 a month for Freelancer Plus now, and you're locked into this flat fee on applying. You're locked into this flat fee on all your contracts, and that way,
Hmm.
I just know what my fees are going to be every single month. Because I guarantee
Yeah.
you, if they did that tomorrow, probably me and every other major Upworker out there would just pay it. And notice I'm not
Yeah.
even saying, hey, just reduce the fees for us to remove them. I'm saying just give us a predictable flat sum. So
Yeah.
we don't have to play this game anymore. Or maybe even throw in 5 free boosts a month or something like that. So things just are a little bit more predictable, because right now I just don't really feel like there is a premium service. I don't really feel like I get anything for being expert vetted on Upwork besides some Upwork talent specialist invite, which I always ignore because they never work out for me. I just feel like it's a lot of uncertainty, and I don't always feel like I'm being heard. So I would love to see
Yeah.
something like that being offered through Upwork, and just something a little bit, I see, just predictability is all I'm asking for. Predictability, maybe making us and people who subscribe to Freelancer Plus and have been with them for a very long time make us feel a little bit more loved, like
Yeah.
like our premium status means something, and we get
Yeah.
something for it, can budget a little bit better in our companies.
Yeah, I think these are all very, very good points. And to be fair, I think uncertainty is the bane of any business, and freelancing is a business. And on top of which, the clients don't necessarily know this is happening behind the scenes either, right? The clients aren't
Definitely.
necessarily directly impacted by it, so they may be asking, why are you raising rates up? Well, you need to clearly explain it. Let me ask you though, and I asked Adam about this. Do you think it's going to cause some people to fall off platform? His perspective, just to share, was, look, Upwork is still the biggest, the best game in town. If you fall off, there's going to be other people falling over themselves to go over your exiting body to get to the front of the line. So do you think this is going to change the competitive nature? Do you think it's going to have a substantially different in the way the number of people bidding on projects? How do you see that, the ecosystem changing?
I mean, honestly, I have been doing this for a long time now, and I really have not seen a reduction in competition on the Upwork platform, no matter what happens. Because if 10 people fall out, 10 people take their place. So I don't
Right.
think it's going to change the number of competitors per se, but I do think that it is affecting how some of us pros use the platform. I mean, just sort of anecdotally, I've been speaking to a lot of, I'm in a kind of like some of these group chats with some of these really high earning Upwork people. And a lot of us have said we're using the platform a lot less since this change took place. Like, I remember in my Upwork heydays, I was probably pulling in 4K a week on the Upwork platform. Nowadays, I'm kind of like, I might pull in like, I don't know, 3, 4K a month. So, I mean, it's
Right.
definitely slowed because I don't really use it quite as heavily for my pipeline. But part of that also is that I have a pretty well established pipeline, but it's just a little bit harder to get them. Mostly on Upwork now. My big things, and if you guys are really looking for something to do to that I feel like would really skyrocket your Upwork potential, is I just make sure to constantly keep my profile updated. Like, I'm constantly uploading portfolio items. I'm constantly begging for those reviews from my existing and recent clients, and also keep updating my project catalog. And because I keep those things all updated, I'm actually getting a lot more direct invites, and I'm not talking
Mhm.
about the Upwork talent specialist stuff, which I personally ignore because I think it's useless personally. Never had personally had a lot of success with it. Don't say you should ignore it. I just don't like it. So, but I'm getting a lot of like just actual DMs from clients, and that's where I'm spending most of my time anymore. I'm spending less time in the proposals or in the jobs
Right.
feed and more just replying to direct clients. Now, it's obviously not a luxury that everybody can enjoy because unless you're somewhat established, it's not going to happen for you. We all have to start out in the jobs feed, right? It's where everybody starts out, but over time, that's what it can become. And I know that's how I spend most of my time on Upwork nowadays. So it's good.
Yeah.
I'm still making conversions. I'm still finding new clients. Even still today, I'm getting those direct DMs and I'm signing on new clients. But again, the volume and the intake for me has been reduced. And I think that I'm seeing that in a lot of the other
It's
high earners
interesting.
as well.
Yeah, that's very interesting to me because maybe it's not reduction of demand from the people that are new to the platform or kind of that sub 100,000 group. It may be a reduction in the upper end guys who are saying, and gals, excuse me, I use guys in the plural sense,
Okay.
but
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the day, maybe the higher end professionals like yourself who already have, branched out, have more established referral pipelines, other
Mhm.
methods of bringing inbound traffic to you are saying, look, it's just not worth the effort if they're going to be taking some more out of me. So it could potentially change the dynamic of who is actually applying for jobs because, at the end
Mhm.
of the day, if you're new on the platform in a specialty and someone's got, 500,000 earned on the platform, clients are going to look at those two numbers and be like, man, do I take the risk of the new guy or gal, or do I sit there and go with the person that clearly has done well on it? So maybe that's the case. Maybe the higher end people like yourself will just be like, you know what? Have fun. I'll come back when I need to and I'll answer DMs on my
Yeah.
invites. But the rest of you guys go out there and slay it out.
I mean, it's kind of like American Airlines always says, we know you got a lot of options when you fly, like we got a lot of options at work. So, if you ain't scratching my back every once in a while, I can go elsewhere. I mean,
That's right.
I wouldn't mind a bit of a loyalty program, let's say.
Yeah,
And I
yes,
think
I agree.
it's
Well, the other thing
this whole
too,
this
and I
whole
love the
thing this
advice.
whole thing works on the scale. It works on scale both ways. So we're bringing you a lot of work, and if all we're
Right.
doing is bringing you more fees and more income all the time, we get nothing in return for doing that. That system's going to break eventually, in my personal opinion.
Attention Upwork, we've got a consultant for you to help you with your freelancer structure. So, well, let me kind of end in this. I think the one thing that you did say, which is true, in fact, I'm posting about this a lot more on our community side at Pouncer, is the power of the portfolio, right? And I love the fact that you said, the rules, a lot of the rules are staying the same. Update your profile, update your portfolio items, go and get those. One of the common sins that I see is people put portfolio and don't attach it to a job that they actually worked on for it. Those rules don't change. And, just keeping a solid web presence out there is going to be important no matter what. The other thing that also I think with this change is that you've mentioned is really invest in some of your other web presence. We had one of the people in our community, one of our Pouncer users, who kind of went through our training, but as part of that, we said, okay, go Google yourself. Okay. Literally,
Mhm.
like if you saw your Upwork page, go Google yourself. What would anyone find in Google about you? Would they find your LinkedIn? Would they find your personal website? Because, at the end of the day, these are other touch points that people can find and will see. So they can see you on Upwork, they can see you on LinkedIn, they can see you on your personal site. So that also, I think, goes to what you have been experiencing is not just the referrals from people that, through the network, but just making sure that you have the other pipelines open. That's something else freelancers can be doing.
Here's a really hot tip. You always use your full name to the extent that you're comfortable in doing so. Like I've always used my
Right.
full name for branding, no matter what job I was in. It's funny. I actually had a TV job for like a short period of time where I was on home shopping, not the home shopping network, but a home shopping network. I was actually, and it was funny because I was said, just introduce yourself as Morgan. And I said, no, every show it's Morgan Overholt. And that's the way I sign every single Upwork proposal as well. I sign Morgan Overholt. And until they
Yeah.
make that a rule that I'm not allowed to use my full name in a proposal, that's what I will continue to do. Because
Yeah.
again, people can look like exactly like you said, they can look you up online. And technically, even though, like a weird scale, I guess it's circumvention if they go around the system. If you didn't ask them to do that and you just put your name on there and they happen to Google you and find your stuff, that's pretty hard to police, y'all. So
I,
it's pretty hard to,
I hear
I'm just saying.
And to be
So
and to
I
be
would do it.
absolutely honest, the true value in the Upwork as not only bringing jobs and connecting people, it is the payment protection they offer clients. Okay, it is the
Mhm.
fact that you're part of that fee, whatever that fee is, 0 or 15, we're not sure. Whatever that fee is, part of it is the protection that Upwork does extend to clients to know that they're not going to get shoddy work that they're going to have to pay for, and in some cases, protecting the freelancer as well from clients who may be extorting additional work through messaging, where you can, and then with the threat of leaving a negative review if you don't comply.
Mhm.
So there are
Yeah.
protections in place for both parties. And some people that are not, don't care about that, they're going to find the means to find the talent that they want, regardless of where that information resides. So it's just the nature of being an online freelancer. But the key is make sure you're out there. Go Google your name right now and see what comes up.
Sean, you also remind me of a really good point too. And this is something that I maybe perhaps we should end on. I want to remind everybody that fees are a way of life when it comes to freelancing, when it comes to agencies, when it comes to services, and and online marketing, whatever, or online marketplaces. For instance, I've worked with agencies that charge upwards of 50 to 55% on top of my fee to their clients. But like, is this normal in an agency world? In fact, the standard in most agencies I've seen is about 30 to 50%, more or less. That's kind of the average. But we never think about that. And it really bothers us because for some reason we see the agency is, they're headhunting for us. They're doing all this work for us. Well, Upwork is at the end of the day providing quite a lot. They're soft headhunting for you. You got to do a lot of work on your end, which is why it's only 15% versus 50.
Right.
um, but they're also providing a lot of those other tools, like you said, the payment protection, which has saved me more times than I can count. Some clients they ghost you. Well, as long as you have an active milestone, that money will be released in 2 weeks if you submit your work. And so
Mhm.
you'll still get paid even if the client goes MIA. So, and when that's really great, because when I first started freelancing, I didn't really know how to collect my own deposits. I mean, now I have
Mhm.
software that does it for me and I can do that offsite comfortably. And I'm not uncomfortable asking for that. But like back in the day, I wasn't, and Upwork does provide that service. So at the end of the day, is 15% like a make or break? Still no. Bake it into your rates. It's fine. But I just wish it was a little bit more. You know what all the agencies don't do? They're like, okay, on this job, it'll be 10%. On this job, it'll be 27 and a half. On this job, that's what they don't do. So that's
Right,
what's
right.
weird about what Upwork is doing. But fees in
Yeah.
general are not weird. It's just they're strange, like weird, not static, clear messaging around it.
Yeah. Well, I love the way to end it. And by the way, if you ever want to know what pain is, get a client that pays you net 45, net 60. Then you will really appreciate the payment protection. Just saying. So, Morgan, you
Yeah.
bring up some great points as always. Everyone go get the hard copy of her book. Show it one more time. Show the book one more time.
It's
Uh,
it's 10-day
10-day
Upwork.
Upwork.
It is available both on freelancerfiles.com and on Amazon. But on freelancerfiles.com, I can give you a discount, Pouncer 30, because again, I have 10 pre-printed copies with the old fee structure in there. So I'll give you these 10, the next 10
All
for a
right.
discount. First come, first served.
And go follow
Pouncer
her on
30.
Freelancer Files. Absolutely great blog site. Morgan, thank you so much again for being here. Really appreciate your perspective.
Awesome. Thank you for having me as always.
Thank you for watching the video. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe to our channel here. More importantly, if you found it useful, please share it with your friends. And one more thing, if you're looking for some great tools to help you succeed on Upwork, go check out Pouncer.ai. We think you'll like it.